Hello everybody, this is Derek or Lincoln 101, and today's video is going to be the next installment of Dragonrider's Revenge. And before anybody asks, yes, the campaign is over and done with. I just never got around to actually posting and making these videos, so for that I apologize. But I'm going to give you guys a nice recaps and a couple, maybe hopefully 2 more videos, counting this one, of what happened. So let's get right into where we left off. For those of you who don't remember, the last part we left off, we just exited the Grand Library and learned a bunch of information about our overall story goal, and I learned more stuff about my personal goals. In the next session, we were heading towards an area called the Dragon's Den, and we were heading out towards a small village. But before we could get there, me with Straga, Diagovalis and Straga, as we were getting there, a couple of dragons landed in front of us. And of course, to anybody else, that's pretty terrifying. To me, I was like, okay, it's not that bad. They're dragons, I have one too. Until I remembered that all other dragons don't like Straga because of the fact that he's bonded to me and is younger but still strong. Stronger than some of the other dragons. So then I thought to myself, oh crap, this is going to be a bad situation, guys. Strug and I had a little mental communication thing going on where he basically told me I needed to get off and we had to just do this for right now and he had to go with them. So Straga leaves with the other dragons and I'm a dragon rider without a dragon for a whole session. So power level was a little skewed since most of my stuff is used bonded with my dragon, but it was okay. Because we get to this small village and find out that all the village elders are missing. Also at this point that a member of the community approaches me, and I can see right away there's something different about him. And he has slightly scaled skin on his arms and claws and filed teeth, and he introduces himself as Maximus. And Maximus asks to be part of my group. He asked to be a faithful servant to me. And out of game, I had taken the leadership feat, and Maximus turns into my cohort. Maximus being, I have his character sheet right here, Maximus being a dragon disciple, sorcerer, and 1 level in ranger. So he's pretty awesome, and I was like, oh sure, you're a dragon disciple right away, yeah. You can join up and serve me. And so you can see right away now I'm starting an organization of my own to combat the Obsidian Order. The organization doesn't really have a name yet. The symbol is a giant dragon on black field, and our words are vengeance is swift. And he tells me that there are some others like-minded individuals who want to see the Obsidian Order destroyed, who are waiting outside of town to meet me. So I go out and I meet them, and I have about, I think it's 9 when I first took the feat, 9 followers, and then 10 counting Maximus. And they all have different roles and things within a camp, and I basically mark them all with an arcane mark, branding them to my order, and making them my minions, sort of thing. And then using my local knowledge, I learn that there is a abandoned dwarven keep to the south. At which point I say we're refurbishing that and making that our base of operations. So we do that, and I go away for a little bit, and the party goes to find the village elders. Now, what happened with them is they were all kidnapped, and their souls were going to be drained away to fuel the evil goddess Haparu. And they had these little stones above their head, and if we destroyed the stones, then we saved them, but if we killed them, she gained power, and then it was pretty interesting. We had to figure it out, and we learned more about these crystal-like structures. So we know now that Haparu uses crystals. The following session, that was a really short session for different reasons that I won't get into, but the next session, Straga returns, and there is a company of dragons with him, 1 for each of the other members of the party and Maximus. And I'm like, hey buddy, what do you do? What's going on? What have you been up to? Of course, this is all mental communication. And he informs me that the dragon of the Dragon's Den, an area within the continent that we're on, wants to meet me and wants to see us as in the group. And so we were like, awesome, let's go, or at least I am. I'm like, let's go do this right away. I want to meet this giant dragon and ruler of the Dragon's Den. And so we all mount up and we start flying. And it's about halfway through our flight that we realize we're being followed. From below us, some wyverns or or whatever you want to call them, pull up out of the forest, and who should be riding them but members of the Obsidian Order. So right away I'm like, yes, epic air combat is ensuing. And of course I'm leading the group because I'm the best flyer in terms of riding a dragon. So I do an epic corkscrewing backflip, wind up behind the wyverns, have Straga grapple on to the first one he can get. I then run off Straga's back, dive onto the rider, grapple him, and then jump off the wyvern. Now, as I'm falling, I whisper into his ear, I'm Batman, and then let him go, and then open my arms because I have a glide suit. So we have a crazy member of our party. She's basically MacGyver, and she made a glide suit for me in case I should ever fall off my dragon. So I have him, like I said, I whisper into his ear, I'm Batman, and then let him fall to his death as I slowly glide, and then Straga basically kicks the wyvern to the ground and then grabs me. And that was turn one. That got to be one of the most epic turns I've ever had in my life. It's 2 kills right off the bat, just epically. Straga rendered one of the wyvern's wings, and so it just plummeted. And it was excellent. Epic combat then ensued through the air. Got complicated because one guy was shooting arrows that pull all sorts of magic to individual targets wherever these arrows are. So the magic was getting all messed up, and then it was crazy. But suffice to say, we won the aerial combat, and we continued on through the day. We then landed in the Dragon's Den, where I made a wonderful discovery. The original Dragonrider that I found out about in the library, named Doom, the original Dragonrider and mount, were there in the Dragon's Den, and they were alive. So I was like, oh! And it was like one of those get to meet your hero moments, and it was pretty impressive. Turns out that the guy was a member of the Dragonrider was a member of an ancient race thought to be extinct called the Tau, and his dragons, even though his dragon's name's been written down as Doom in history books, her name is actually Magdalene. And when we told him what our mission was and why we were there, and that he was surprised to see Dragonrider. And we told him, and I asked him for his help, and went down on a knee, and basically was subservient to him and his ways of thinking, and asked him for training on anything that he could do to make Straga and I fight better. And he said, sure, we'll do it. And I basically received training from the first Dragonrider. It was really impressive. Got to say it was the highlight, well, the second best moment of the entire campaign, and I'll eventually get to the best moment of the campaign for me. So it was the second best moment of the campaign for me when getting to train under the original Dragonrider. There was a lot of good role-playing between me and the DM, and between myself as I was playing Diagothalis and Straga in my head. So it was pretty awesome. The other party members got training in other things, but that's not important. This is my story, not theirs. And then that lasted a couple of days, and then we were in the special time chamber. Think the training chamber from Dragon Ball Z, how like time is affected differently. So we were in the training chamber for like a few months, but then it turns out it was only like a couple days had passed, which was pretty cool. From there, we leave, head to a dwarven city because we were looking for this guy who has information about Haparu and how we might be able to defeat her. And he's in this, last was heard, he was in this dwarven city. So we head to this dwarven city, and I start immediately looking for information about the Obsidian Order, because now that I have this increased training and some more equipment, I'm like, yes, let's go kill somebody. As I'm attempting some subterfuge and looking for the weakest link of the Obsidian Orders and trying to get information about where the leaders or other members might be, we hear screaming throughout the city. And then suddenly half the city is on fire. And we're like, what the heck? Why is the city just suddenly sprouting out on fire? Turns out, for those of you that don't remember, our shadows have been missing this whole time. And yeah, all the shadows came back to fight us inside the city. And my shadow and Straga's shadow lit the entire city on fire. Yeah. Sorry, guys. It's kind of my fault. But it's okay, because we fought them, and then we created giant massive explosions using some rum from a nearby tavern, and created giant massive fiery explosions, and obstacles ensued, were overcame, got our shadows back. It was pretty crazy. And it actually allowed me to level up, and I got my new beast person ability, which I decided to use Sandstorm, the blue dragon ability, because I can pull from any creature's abilities. So I have this giant ability now to use once a day, I think it was once a day, or maybe it was once a week, that if in a really dire situation I could create a giant sandstorm centered on me from a radius of 1,000 feet out. So it's kind of the Hail Mary pass if, things got really bad. The last thing I found that day was a wanted poster of myself along the wall. So I was like, really? Wanted poster, where did this come from? And after looking at it closely, I discovered that it came from the Obsidian Order, so they're afraid. They know I'm out there looking for them, so they're pretty afraid of me now. So that was the highlight of me finding that. Eventually, I had it, there was some writing on the back when I pulled it off the wall. And it was in a language I couldn't read, so I had one of my party members read it. And turns out that the Obsidian Order leader wants to meet me. And so I'm like, this is interesting. The Obsidian Order leader wants to meet me. And he says he's got this grand scheme that he wants to reveal to me, like all bad guys do. They want to talk about their evil plans. So I was gung-ho for the talent show and was going to go there right away, but then the party wants to do other things. So we had a nice long chat, and then decided from there what we wanted to do. The party members said that they wanted to head south, and I said, well, no, why can't we head west? And I want to go question the Obsidian Order leader. And they didn't give me an answer right away. So, being chaotic neutral, I interrogated my own party members. I had Straga hold down one of the party. The rest of the party is surprisingly neutral, so they didn't really care about the one people that seemed to be wanting to go south. They were just going to follow, they didn't really care. And so they just stayed out of the interrogation as I held one of them down and the other one at sword point. And Straga was holding one guy down with a claw, or with his claws, and the other guy had a sword point. And I said, why do you want to head south? Tell me why. Why don't we want to head west? Turns out one of our party members has been having visions that he's been keeping to himself. Visions that if certain events go how they're supposed to, we lose and the world is destroyed. And if I head west to face the Obsidian Order leader by myself, I'm going to die. And without me, things hit the fan really hard in the future, and they can't defeat Haparu, and the world is lost. So my quest for vengeance is getting in the way. And since we're at 14 minutes with this video right now, we're going to stop here and just say that this interrogation isn't over, and someone is not exactly who they seem within the party. So with that, this has been Dragonrider's Revenge Part 4. There is many plots going on now, layers and layers. As Sean Connery says, a good story is like an onion, because an onion has layers, so too should a story have layers. And I completely agree, and I was so happy that my DM did this and created this really epic story that I will tell you more about in the interrogation in the next edition of Dragonrider's Revenge. This has been Derek, Like 101. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.